Okay, let's dive right in. For more than 2,000 years, really, two names have just dominated the world of strategy. Over in the East, you've got the ancient general Sun Tzu, and in the West, the Prussian officer Karl von Clausewitz. Their books, The Art of War and On War, they're legendary. But, they're often painted as these total opposites, showing two completely different ways to win.
And let's be real for a second. One of these guys has become a massive pop culture icon, especially in the West. We've all seen the quotes on motivational posters, right? We've heard business gurus talk about the art of war like it's some kind of sacred text for success. It's got this reputation for being just pure, distilled wisdom. So, is it actually a deep philosophical guide, or is it something else entirely? And what happens when we put Sun Tzu's ancient wisdom head-to-head with the cold, hard realism of Clausewitz? Who actually comes out on top in the 21st century? Well, that's exactly what we're here to figure out.
So here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to blow past the myths. We'll start with that pop culture version of Sun Tzu, then we'll properly introduce both of these titans. We'll compare their big ideas on what victory even means, see how their playbooks are used today on the modern battlefield of business and negotiation, and then we'll do a deep dive into Sun Tzu's ultimate strategy. And finally, we'll ask the big question: why do these two thinkers still matter so much?
All right, let's start by getting past all those inspirational quotes and look at what the art of war actually is. Because, honestly, for a lot of people who finally decide to read it, it's a bit of a shock. And this really gets to the heart of the book. It wasn't written for self-help gurus. It was written for generals and feudal lords in ancient China who, frankly, often had zero military experience. It's packed with brutally practical advice on stuff like managing troop morale, the vital importance of supplies, and, as one Reddit user perfectly pointed out, even the exact number of wagons you need to keep on your side of the river. It's a textbook. You could almost call it warfare for dummies, designed to stop clueless nobles from getting their armies wiped out for no reason. Okay, so with that context, let's properly meet our two main characters. Now, they were both obsessed with war, but they came from completely different worlds. And those worlds shaped their ideas in some pretty profound ways.
On one side, you have Sun Tzu. He's this almost mythical figure from China's Warring States period. His work is short, it's poetic, and it's soaked in Taoist philosophy, which is all about harmony and balance. Then, on the other side, you've got Karl von Clausewitz, a 19th century Prussian soldier who actually fought in the Napoleonic Wars. His book, On War, is this dense, heavy, analytical beast rooted in the Western tradition of logic, separating everything into means and ends. Their worlds couldn't be more different, and that leads them to two totally different takes on what war even is.
For Sun Tzu, war is a huge disruption of the natural order, the Tao. It's something you do reluctantly, a necessary evil you only turn to when the state's very survival is on the line. And because it's so dangerous and expensive, you have to handle it with extreme care and, ideally, just avoid it altogether. The whole point is to get back to harmony as fast as possible. Clausewitz, he sees it in a completely different light. For him, war isn't some terrible mistake. It's a tool. It's just another instrument in a politician's toolbox, something you use to get what you want when talking fails. It's not about good or evil. It's about rational calculation. War is a means to a political end. And this fundamental difference leads them to wildly different ideas about what it actually means to win.
Okay, so this is where the two thinkers really diverge. I mean, their ideas of what a perfect victory looks like are almost polar opposites.
For Sun Tzu, the best victory, the most elegant one, is a bloodless one. The master strategist doesn't win by crushing the enemy on the battlefield. No, they win before the fight even starts, using psychology, using deception, using diplomacy to make the other side just give up. The goal is to capture their state whole, with its army and everything, because a destructive war is really just a failure of strategy.
And then you've got Clausewitz. He would probably call Sun Tzu's ideal a dangerous fantasy. For him, war is, by its very nature, violent. Trying to get cute or be kind to avoid a fight is the worst possible mistake a commander could make. It just shows you're hesitating, that you're weak. The only way to get what you want is through decisive, overwhelming force, through battle.
This chart really just lays it all out nice and clear. Take ideal victory. For Sun Tzu, you subdue the enemy without fighting. For Clausewitz, you destroy their army, period. What about intelligence? Sun Tzu thinks it's absolutely vital. Know the enemy and know yourself. Clausewitz is way more skeptical. he talks about the fog of war, where most reports are just plain wrong. And deception? For Sun Tzu, it's the core of everything. For Clausewitz, it's less important than just dealing with friction, all the random, unpredictable stuff that's guaranteed to go wrong in a real fight.
So, with these two very different ways of thinking, how do they apply today? Well, while Clausewitz is still the undisputed king for understanding straight-up military conflict, Sun Tzu's ideas have found a new home, and maybe an even more relevant one: the world of business and negotiation.
Business strategists have basically taken Sun Tzu's 5 key principles and plugged them right into the corporate world. The way is all about having a unified mission, a clear purpose that everyone in the company buys into. Heaven and earth mean understanding your environment, the big market trends, and your specific competitors. The commander? That's just strong leadership. And method is about operational efficiency, getting your processes tight. The key here is that these aren't just vague ideas. They're a practical framework for building a winning company. His ideas are also an absolute goldmine for negotiation. I mean, this is Sun Tzu at his purest, winning with your brain, not with brute force. Things like know yourself and your counterpart. That's all about doing your homework. When he is united, divide him. Classic divide and conquer. Strike when a spirit is sluggish. That's about knowing people give in when they're tired and worn down. And anger the general? That's about using emotion to make your opponent sloppy. It is a masterclass in psychological chess.
So this brings us to what is probably the single most important and influential idea in all of Sun Tzu's work. It's the concept that has echoed down through the centuries and has found some startling new life today: the principle of winning without ever having to fight a battle.
At its core, it's pretty simple. It's the belief that the cost of a real fight, in lives, in money, and stability, is almost always way too high. The truly superior strategist gets what they want through non-violent means. They create a situation where the other side looks at their options and realizes that surrender is their best and maybe their only choice. And this isn't just some abstract theory. It's a strategy that's been used for centuries.
And you can see this idea pop up all throughout history. Think about ancient Rome. Scipio Africanus didn't just beat Hannibal with soldiers. He used diplomacy to steal Hannibal's allies, weakening him before the final blow. In medieval Spain, the marriage of Isabella and Ferdinand was a strategic move that united their kingdoms, creating a power so strong they could win without endless war. During World War II, the Allies dropped millions of leaflets and used radio broadcasts to crush the morale of Japanese soldiers. And today, the #1 tool is economic sanctions, designed to cripple a country's economy and force political change, all without firing a single shot. But here's the thing. This idea hasn't just stayed as a collection of clever historical moves. It has been systematized. It's been formalized into a modern doctrine of political warfare that takes Sun Tzu's ancient ideas and drops them right into the age of global information. So, according to strategic analysis from places like the Heritage Foundation, the Chinese People's Liberation Army has developed a concept they call the 3 warfares. And this doctrine weaves together 3 strategies that all support each other. First, public opinion warfare. That's about controlling the story, shaping how people think, both at home and around the world. Second, psychological warfare. That's a direct line from Sun Tzu, all about draining your opponent's will to fight. And then there's the third one, legal warfare, also known as lawfare.
Now, the key insight here is how lawfare is defined. It's not seen as a defensive legal strategy. It's defined as an offensive weapon. It's about using legal systems, both domestic and international, to tie an opponent's hands, to question their legitimacy, and to achieve goals that you just can't win on a traditional battlefield. When you look at it that way, it's basically a modern, highly organized version of Sun Tzu's ultimate principle: winning without fighting.
So we've gone from ancient China to modern boardrooms and global politics. We've seen the practical, bean-counting general behind the philosophical quotes and the cold realist who saw war as just another government program. Which brings us, of course, to our final question.
You know, it's really tempting to just declare Sun Tzu the winner, right? His ideas about indirect strategy, psychology, and winning without fighting seem perfectly designed for our complicated, interconnected world of InfoWars and economic showdowns. But here's the thing. That's the wrong question to ask. Clausewitz is not irrelevant. Far from it. His ideas about friction and war being a political act are absolutely essential for understanding conventional military conflicts, which, by the way, have not gone away. The truth is, they aren't rivals. They're 2 sides of the same coin. Together, they give you the complete toolkit.
Sun Tzu teaches you how to win the piece, how to outthink and outmaneuver your competition. Clausewitz teaches you how to think about winning the war, if it actually comes to that. Understanding both isn't just some academic game. It's crucial for navigating any competitive landscape, whether the battlefield is made of dirt or spreadsheets. The real question isn't who you should choose, but knowing when to apply the wisdom of each.